It's May the 2nd. Let's read the Bible. Welcome back to this year-long journey from Genesis to Revelation in just 1 year. Hey, in case you don't know the reading guide or don't understand the plan we're following, go to keepbelieving.com. I want every person out there to get a copy of the reading guide because it'll tell you the plan we're following, going through the Old Testament and New Testament consecutively, but the books interspersed, and you can get a daily reading guide and a monthly reading guide. So go to keepbelieving.com. Right there on the front page, you can click on the link and download the PDF, and it will be there right for you. Now, today, 1 Samuel 28 and 29. We've been talking about Saul, and we've been tracing his slow descent into spiritual anarchy and sinfulness. Well, he's going to hit rock bottom today. This is the story of Saul and the witch of Endor. That's chapter 28. And then focus back in chapter 29 on David and what happened to the village of Ziklag. So first, 1 Samuel 28. At that time, the Philistines gathered their military units into one army to fight against Israel. So Achish said to David, "You know, of course, that you and your men must march out in the army with me." David replied to Achish, "Good, you will find out what your servant can do." So Achish said to David, "Very well, I will appoint you as my permanent bodyguard." By this time, Samuel had died. All Israel had mourned for him and buried him in Ramah, his city, and Saul had removed the mediums and spiritists from the land. The Philistines gathered and camped at Shunem. So Saul gathered all Israel, and they camped at Gilboa. When Saul saw the Philistine camp, he was afraid and his heart pounded. He inquired of the Lord, but the Lord did not answer him in dreams or by Urim or by the prophets. Saul then said to his servants, "Find me a woman who is a medium, so I can go and consult her." His servants replied, "There is a woman at Endor who is a medium." Saul disguised himself by putting on different clothes and set out with 2 of his men. They came to the woman at night, and Saul said, "Consult the spirit for me. Bring up for me the one I tell you." But the woman said to him, "You surely know what Saul has done, how he has cut off the mediums and spiritists from the land. Why are you setting up a trap for me to get me killed?" Then Saul swore to her by the Lord, "As surely as the Lord lives, no punishment will come to you from this." "Who is it that you want me to bring up for you?" the woman asked. "Bring up Samuel for me," he answered. When the woman saw Samuel, she screamed, and then she asked Saul, "Why did you deceive me? You are Saul." But the king said to her, "Don't be afraid. What do you see?" "I see a spirit form coming up out of the earth," the woman answered. Then Saul asked her, "What does he look like?" "An old man is coming up," she replied. "He is wearing a robe." Then Saul knew that it was Samuel, and he knelt low with his face to the ground and paid homage. "Why have you disturbed me by bringing me up?" Samuel asked Saul. "I'm in serious trouble," replied Saul. "The Philistines are fighting against me, and God has turned away from me. He doesn't answer me anymore, either through the prophets or in dreams. So I've called on you to tell me what I should do." Samuel answered, "Since the Lord has turned away from you and has become your enemy, why are you asking me? The Lord has done exactly what he said through me. The Lord has torn the kingship out of your hand and given it to your neighbor David. You did not obey the Lord and did not carry out his burning anger against Amalek. Therefore, the Lord has done this to you today. The Lord will also hand Israel over to the Philistines along with you. Tomorrow, you and your sons will be with me, and the Lord will hand Israel's army over to the Philistines." Immediately, Saul fell flat on the ground. He was terrified by Samuel's words and was also weak because he had not eaten anything all day and all night. The woman came over to Saul, and she saw he was terrified and said to him, "Look, your servant has obeyed you. I took my life in my hands and did what you told me to do. Now, please listen to your servant. Let me set some food in front of you. Eat, and it will give you strength so you can go on your way." He refused, saying, "I won't eat." But when his servants and the woman urged him, he listened to them. He got up off the ground and sat on the bed. The woman had a fattened calf at her house, and she quickly slaughtered it. She also took flour, kneaded it, and baked unleavened bread. She served it to Saul and his servants, and they ate. Afterward, they got up and left that night. 1 Samuel 29. The Philistines brought all their military units together at Aphek while Israel was camped by the springs in Jezreel. As the Philistine leaders were passing in review with their units of hundreds and thousands, David and his men were passing in review behind them with Achish. Then the Philistine commanders asked, "What are these Hebrews doing here?" Achish answered the Philistine commanders, "That is David, servant of King Saul of Israel. He has been with me for a considerable period of time. From the day he defected until today, I found no fault with him." The Philistine commanders, however, were enraged with Achish and told him, "Send that man back and let him return to the place you assigned him. He must not go down with us into battle only to become our adversary during the battle. What better way could he ingratiate himself with his master than with the heads of our men? Isn't this the David they sing about during their dances? Saul has killed his thousands, but David his tens of thousands." So Achish summoned David and told him, "As the Lord lives, you are an honorable man. I think it is good to have you fighting in this unit with me because I have found no fault in you from the day you came to me until today. But the leaders don't think you are reliable. Now, go back quietly and you won't be doing anything the Philistine leaders think is wrong." "But what have I done?" David replied to Achish, "From the first day I entered your service until today, what have you found against your servant to keep me from going to fight against the enemies of my lord the king?" Achish answered David, "I'm convinced that you are as reliable as an angel of God, but the Philistine commanders have said, you must not go into battle with us. So get up early in the morning, you and your master's servants who came with you. When you've all gotten up early, go as soon as it's light." So David and his men got up early in the morning to return to the land of the Philistines, and the Philistines went up to Jezreel. There's going to be trouble with David and his men when they go back to Ziklag and find out what happened there. You know, you can't serve two masters. David may have pleased Achish, king of Gath, but he'd also been playing a devious game, been running from Saul, living among the Philistines. But you're going to see that's going to blow up in his face. You got to decide. You got to decide whose side you are on. We're going to run into this again and again as we're going through the books of 2 Samuel and 1 and 2 Kings. You have to decide whose side you're going to be on. You can't play both sides against the middle and expect to get away with it forever. So come back tomorrow. We're going to get the rest of the story. And about this witch of Endor thing, I take it literally. I think that really was the spirit of Samuel that the witch brought up. And I think she knew it was really Samuel. That's why she screamed. It scared her to death. This wasn't the usual thing she had done. Just understand, this is the only time in the Bible, when anything like this happens and it comes to no good end for Saul. Samuel, just repeat, the spirit of Samuel brought back from the dead repeats to Saul because of what you did. Your army is going to be defeated and you and your sons are going to be dead, and we're going to find out about that tomorrow. There's a reason why the Old Testament forbids over and over again, you shall not consult the medium, you shall not talk to the dead, you shall not talk to the spiritist, not to the necromancers, you shall not to the people, not to the fortune tellers, none of that. You are to trust in the Lord your God. We see what a mess Saul gets himself into, how far he has gone, how far down he has gone to consult with a medium. Well, when you turn away from the Lord, things can never get better. They can only get worse. And we've seen Saul go down and down and down. So let us pray to be faithful to the Lord today. Help us to be wholehearted for you, to trust in you and obey you, and leave all the other details in your hands. So go out, folks. Have a great day. come back tomorrow. This story in 1 Samuel is going to come to an amazing climax. There's going to be some sadness in what we're going to read tomorrow. So come back, get ready. We'll see you then. God bless.